Live. And welcome back to another Between the Pages book chat. And today our guest is Nicholas Poe. And we're here to talk about his sci fi book Selection Day, The Empty Night, Book One. And I'm going to turn it over to him and let him introduce himself. So take it away.
Sure. Hi, I'm Nicholas Poe. I'm an author and a podcaster from Nashville, Tennessee. This is my first book, and I'm very excited to be working with De Novo Press for this book and this whole series. They've been great. Super excited to be on here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the book. What's it about? What can we expect from it?
Sure. So this book is a young adult, technically a novella, so it's a little bit shorter. It's set in a future world where, at the age of 16, every child is gets to select an AI companion that will be their companion for life. So this story follows Dante, who is an AI who never gets selected. So every year, the AIs go through a series of challenges. There's 3 challenges, and your performance in those challenges gets you points. And so he's trying to win the challenges so he can get the most amount of points, get the highest rank, and finally get selected.
Yeah, I like the premise of the book. It's kind of got a little weird little twist on the chosen one with a little Hunger
Yeah.
Games thrown in. So yeah, it was kind of
Right.
fun when I read the blurb.
Awesome.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the main character. It's an AI,
Yes.
obviously, but has a personality. So what's the AI like?
Sure. Yeah. So the AI's name is Dante. It's taken from one of my favorite books, Count of Monte Cristo, and he's got 2 very close friends, and he's very loyal. He's very passionate. He's maybe a little naive, but he's got, and probably a lot of people say this about their main character, but he's got a great heart, and uh, yeah, he's just very, very loyal, I think, and understands the value of his friendships, and that's something that he learns throughout the course of the book as well. So,
Okay, so tell us a little
yeah.
bit about the setting. Is it near future, far future, set on another planet? Is it futuristic Earth? What?
Yeah, so it's actually probably very far future. It's not set on kind of anywhere. It's set in what's called the AI portal. Since they're all AIs that haven't been selected, they're not really out in our universe. They're all in this like simulated reality. So they're all kind of like in the portal, which is a completely created thing. But in the rest of the series, they get out into the actual universe, and that's not on Earth. It's in far distant planets.
So it's sort of like a virtual reality setting.
Yes, yeah. Similar to like Ready Player One, that kind of world they go into. It's similar to that.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the secondary characters. You said the AI had a couple of friends. What are they like?
Yeah. So one of his friends is named Kyra. She's a bit younger than Dante. Dante is, I think, like 4 or 5 at this point, which sounds very young, but that's old for an AI. And so he's a little bit outdated, and his programs aren't quite as like fancy as some of the newer models. So Kyra's in her second year. She didn't get selected after her first year. She's very timid, she's very shy, she's very insecure and self-conscious. So she's kind of holding back and not wanting to be selected because she doesn't feel like she'll do a good job. And then his other friend is one of my favorite characters. Her name is Van. She's like a rebel character. So her whole thing is she doesn't want to be selected because she thinks it's an outdated system. She thinks it's like indentured servitude. She's like, I don't want any part of this. So she tries to like sabotage her own chances in the challenges. And so she's kind of stuck in this like she's also very loyal. So she's stuck in this dichotomy of I want to help my friend do well in the challenges, but I don't want to do well. So just kind of like trying to fight that.
Well, that's fun. It's sort of like
Yeah.
taking human prototype stereotype tropes and
Right.
putting them on the AI. That sounds like a lot
Yeah.
of fun.
Yeah.
So, what were your inspirations for writing the book?
Sure. I think it's kind of hard to I have like a ideas file where I just kind of write down random ideas I have. Some are good, some are not good at all. And this one was always just a question. I was like, what if humans could select AI companions and an AI doesn't get selected? And just kind of kept going back to that idea. And I don't know exactly the original inspiration. It probably came from the Halo video game series with Cortana and Master Chief. I've been a big fan of Halo my whole life. So seeing that relationship between like a human and this AI who's just always with him, and just kind of that, I guess, sparked the idea probably.
Cool.
Yeah,
So, what was the hardest scene or type of scene you wrote in the book?
sure. I think a lot of the hardest scenes were the scenes in between the challenges. The challenges are very fast paced. So those are fun for me to write. And it's a smaller book. So I'd had to like break up that pacing a little bit. And those scenes in between where he's just speaking with his friends or talking with Michael, who's the AI creator. He's the guy who created the whole system. He creates the AIs, and just kind of getting that feel right because they're not humans. So I don't want to like make them completely human, but also they need to be relatable. So trying to make them a little bit more relatable and however an AI can be. So I think that was kind of the tricky balance to make.
Okay, so what was the favorite scene or type of scene you wrote in the book?
Yeah. I think my favorite scene was probably whenever Dante is talking with Michael, the creator, and just kind of learning a little bit more about who he is. And Michael's just encouraging him and giving him support. I think those are some of my favorite scenes because it really gets into kind of like Dante's perceived worth and what he thinks about himself. So those are those are always things that I needed to hear growing up. So it's fun to be able to kind of put that into.
Okay, so do you have themes in the book? And if so, what kind of themes did you sort of weave into the narrative?
Sure. Yeah, I think we've hit on a couple of them already, but one of the main ones is just friendship, which I think is in a lot of YA books, but just like that power of being loyal to your friends and caring for your friends and helping them and sacrificing your own ideas in a lot of ways for your friends and how important that can be. And then also just kind of like that idea of self worth. And because through a lot of the book, Dante's worth in his own mind is determined by getting selected, and he hasn't been selected. So he's just battling this idea of like, I'm not good enough. I've never been good enough. No one wants me. So just kind of working through that and realizing that no, he is good enough, whether or not someone else sees that and selects him. That's a big theme in it too.
Hmm, cool. So, what are your characters afraid of? I know they're AI, but they must be afraid of something.
Sure. I think in a lot of ways, Dante's and Kyra are afraid of their own insecurities. They're afraid of not being good enough because these AIs are created for a specific purpose. So Dante is worried that I'm never going to get selected, so I'm not going to fulfill that purpose. I'm not going to be good enough. And Kyra is worried that I am going to get selected, and then people are going to realize, kind of like that imposter syndrome attitude. She's like, people are going to realize that I'm not good enough, and then like things are going to go terribly for my companion once I get selected. So that's a common theme throughout, and I think Van is just afraid of her friends getting hurt. She's very loyal, very fight for her friends type of character. So yeah.
So, what would be Dante's best memory?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think some of his best memories would probably be with his friends Kyra and Van. They have this. There's this planet in the portal. The AI portal is kind of divided into several different planets, and each planet has its own function. So they have like their planet where the school is. They have their planet where they can like go get a coffee. So one of his favorite planets is called Pax, and it's, as the name implies, it's just the peace planet. You just go and take a breath and relax a little bit. So he likes to go there and sit on this hill and like look out at the stars that are all fake, but in his mind they're real. And so there's a scene in the book that is one of my favorites where Kyra comes and meets him there, and just they kind of like have this heart to heart moment. But I think a lot of his favorite memories would probably be him and his friends on that hill, just kind of taking a moment to decompress and breathe a little bit.
Okay, so you mentioned they have a coffee shop and that. So, do
Yeah,
the AIs have like an avatar personality inside the portal?
yeah, they are like bodies. They don't technically have like they don't have taste, they don't have smell, but they have like taste receptors because the idea is they want to be able to relate to their human companion. So when they're created, they're kind of like given this ability to relate. So they like have a coffee shop so that like they know what it's like to be in a coffee shop. So that's kind of the idea behind that.
Yeah, it's sort of like a simulation game that you'd
Yeah,
play today. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so uh, do you have a favorite character? And you can say no if you don't.
Oh, my favorite character, it varies a lot. I really like Kyra. I have a soft spot for her. I think she struggles with a lot of the stuff that I struggle with, which is like imposter syndrome and not feeling like you're good enough for where you're at. Sorry, this is my cat. He gets jealous when I talk to other people, so he might pop in. So,
Well,
but oh,
it's not
sorry.
a live video unless we have a cat cameo. So
Right, yeah. Well, easier. I think, and then other times I also really love Van. I just love her attitude about like this whole thing is corrupt. I'm not going to play by your games. Like it's very much I'm a rule follower, so it's very much not my attitude, but I just love getting to write from that perspective, I guess.
okay, so it's obviously book one from the title. So can
Mhm.
you give us a little sneak peek without spoilers of what's coming up?
Sure. Yeah, so in book 2, uh they we see some of the characters kind of like get out into the wider world. Uh some of the characters are selected, some might not be. So they get a human companion. Book 2 is multi-perspective. So it's not only following Dante, it's following one or two other characters. So we kind of get to see them. The universe expands a lot beyond the portal. We see these two governments. One is the Empire, which like has the whole uh, AI program. They're the ones who started it. They're the massive, like the typical sci-fi empire. And then you have a group called Spectre, who are kind of the rebels against the empire. So we get a little bit more into that, the differences between those and the conflict that's happening there. It's just bigger, more expanded universe.
Sounds like we have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah.
So, if you were going to cast, I would think if you were doing this as a movie, you'd be casting voice actors, but
Yeah.
have you ever considered which voice actors you'd like to cast?
Ooh, I haven't thought about that. That's a good question. Um, I mean, I have a soft spot for Mark Hamill. He's a great voice actor.
Oh,
And then
yes, isn't he?
yeah, having him involved in any sort of sci-fi project is would be really cool for me. Yeah, so I think I'd have him as Dante. I mean, if I'm shooting for the stars here, I'd get Morgan Freeman to play Michael, the creator character, because he has a great voice and he has that very commanding voice. So yeah,
Yeah, excellent choices, I approve.
cool. I got a Soul One ticket to the movie at least.
Yeah, okay, so you obviously write sci-fi, but have you ever written other genres, or are there other genres you'd like to write in the future?
Yeah, I've actually tried my hand at quite a few different genres. I The main one I keep coming back to is YA, and I write actually a lot of YA contemporary. So not even sci-fi, a lot of like coming of age stories that deal with like mental health and that kind of stuff in a high school setting. So yeah, that I love sci-fi. I started writing a epic fantasy book and then stopped about 6 chapters in. You got to be in a different headspace for that. So I admire people who can do that. Yeah, so I've dabbled in a lot of stuff. I like just kind of trying my hand, figuring out what I enjoy writing.
Yeah, you do have to be in a specific headspace for epic
Yeah,
fantasy, and you have to do lots and lots and
right,
lots of world building when you're doing epic fantasy.
right. I think that's my weakness. I'm not the best plotter, so I like just kind of figuring stuff out,
Yeah,
and you can't really do that for an epic fantasy. So
yeah. Well, I love the research, so it's
yeah,
my forte. So
that's great.
okay, so well, I think we'll wrap the interview up here, and I'll let you tell
Awesome.
everyone where they can find you and your books.
Yeah, sure. You can find me on my website, nicholaspoe.com. I have all the books there. Well, I guess the one book that's out, and then other books that haven't been published that you can preview. And then on De Novo Press, denovo.press is the website for the publisher who's publishing it. So you can go there.
Okay, I also have the book linked in the description below,
Great.
and as well as your website. So be sure to
Great.
check it out. It sounds like a very interesting twist on the chosen one and trope with the little Hunger Games, like I said, thrown in.
Yeah.
So uh, if you like sci-fi, do check it out. So anyway, that's all for now for this episode Between the Pages Book Chat. We may not be back next week. We're still waiting on confirmation from the guest, but we will be back sometime. So bye for now.
Bye.